Okay, it's unmuted now. Hi, Maddie, are you gonna turn your video on and join us or what?
I'm in the car,
What are you doing in the car?
leaving the Lexus dealership.
Lexus.
Oh my God.
Yeah,
Can you see me?
it's white. It's nice. Yes, we can see you.
Is she there?
Who?
Your mom.
No, she's in her new Lexus.
Oh, I was gonna say.
She was getting all the details from the tech guy. He was sitting in the back seat while me and her were in the front seats, and he was like going over absolutely every button and feature on the thing. I was like, yo, I gotta go.
I have a really important presentation to get to.
Wait, it was one.
Yeah, but it's recording. Yes, by the way, this is recorded and is posted for everybody.
Yeah, I saw the
Um,
memo. Sorry for the personal conversations, everyone.
Yes. Anyways, I'm just gonna give a disclaimer. Yes, there are tiny monsters on the screen, and yes, they are throughout the whole presentation, but that's just because they were making me happy, and so I used them, and then it's kind of like they are little athletes, all of them. So
They're monsters.
no, I kept them. Anyways, today, guys, we're talking about the role of a coach and how we coach the person, not the sport, and how we're going to treat every athlete like an individual person. Because, anyways, just because. So, in general, here on the first slide, I just have things that we are as a coach in general. Some words that would be used to describe a coach are being a supporter, a motivator, a role model, a trainer, and a leader. And then we should try to, or coaches typically do have a positive impact, inspire others. We are present in their lives and in every moment. We are empathetic. We bring knowledge of what we coach, and we are committed to what we do. And so all of these are things that like underlying, we're not going to go in depth into all of them throughout the presentation, but just in general things that we would be described as, and that we should like always fall back on if you get maybe in one of those moments where you're wondering like why you do it, or like you're just in a moment, you're like, what is my responsibility here? What is my role in this situation? Think about some of these things and if they can apply to whatever situation you are in. Okay, so majority of today's presentation is about athlete-centered coaching. And so that is a philosophy that is based on values and coaching behaviors, where the primary goal is to have the athletes take responsibility of their behaviors and create their own results in the sport that they play. And then why is this important? It creates more consistent and higher performing athletes, and it helps athletes learn to take ownership and responsibility of what they do, and so then a higher outcome is achieved. It's proven that when athletes feel like they're in control, or when they're in an athlete-centered environment, and when you coach with an athlete-centered mindset, that those higher performing teams and better results, more consistency is created. And so it has been proven that with this approach, you get better results in the things that you do. So using this approach and this coaching style is very, very important. And so the two different types, a traditional approach to coaching that is not, that does not include athlete-centered coaching, is where you have your training program that is the middle of what you do, the baseline. And then on the outskirts of that are all of the athletes, and they don't really have an impact on that training program. So maybe a coach would develop the training program first and then implement it without any thought on how it would impact their athletes or what their athletes need. And then other things that play a factor in that is who the coach is, the nutrition of the team, the education that they have and that the coach has and that the coach is providing. And then their recovery after that training program. Those things are parts of that training program and all are factors in this approach, but the coach doesn't use, or the person, this traditional approach doesn't use those factors to create the training program and to create the environment for the athletes. So the main focus is just the training program, and everything else is more on the outskirts. But an athlete-centered approach is where the athlete is in the center, and it is the main priority, the main focus of the approach. And then, as you can see in the diagram, the physiological and the psychological factors of the athlete are next. They're just as important as the athlete, because those are factors that make up the athlete. And along with each of those, you have things that you take into account when you're developing your coaching tactics, your training program. And so for physiological, you have the similar things as the other approach, like recovery, medical, nutrition, and the training program. And then for psychological, the athlete's emotions, stress, mental health, and education. The training program is part of the physiological aspect because it's your body going through the movements, but those other factors will impact the training program that you decide, and then how you implement that. And so, as I said before, how the traditional approach the training program would be created first, and then just used on all athletes, and kind of just a widespread approach. This athlete-centered approach, you could have a training program in mind, but you look at your team, your athlete first, decide their needs based on all of these factors. How is their nutrition? How is their emotional level that day? What's their stress level? And then either make your training program or adapt your training program based on their needs that day, that week, whatever it may be at your practices. And so being more adaptable based on the athlete and these different factors that impact their performance is very important. So the athlete-centered coaching style is based on these 5 values: safety, life skill development, athlete uniqueness, self-awareness, and the holistic perspective. And so safety is just coaches keeping the physical and emotional safety of the athlete in mind. That's the number 1 priority. If your athlete doesn't feel safe physically, mentally, emotionally, they're not going to trust you. They're not going to want to show up and work hard. They're not going to give their all in all senses. Safety is important. Life skill development, we all know, and I hope try to develop those lifelong skills that we always talk about, so that they can have that skill transfer to society later in life, whether that be like leadership, dedication, commitment to a team and teamwork ethic. Those things are important. Then athlete uniqueness. Everyone's different. You want to give them that sense of autonomy and feeling that they are valued as their own person, but then also coaching them with the mindset of one thing can't apply to everybody, because they all need coached in a way that's appropriate for them. Self-awareness is for on the coaching side, which we'll talk about in a bit, but also on the athlete side, athletes need to be self-aware of their personality and their behaviors. And with this, they learn about how they perform and what they need, and then how they can change that next time to correct themselves. And so this applies to this approach of athlete-centeredness, because you are focused on developing that awareness in the athlete and giving them the choice and options and the connection between coach and athlete, and not just giving concrete, maybe like technical or skill-based corrections. And so instead of just telling them what they need to be done, where self-awareness comes in is maybe asking them what they think they did well, what they can do better. And so then they can reflect on, oh, this is what I need to improve on, so next time going into it, they know this is where I was lacking before. I'm going to change it and correct it for next time. And then the holistic perspective, athletes are people first and athletes second. So our role is to look at them as a whole person, not just an athlete and not just a member of your team that you want to win, but as a person who has a life outside of the gym. And we want to develop those skills that they can keep outside of their sport as well as inside. Okay, so for athlete-centered coaching, I quickly mentioned that coach self-awareness is involved in that. And then, like I said, the athlete self-awareness. Then the other two factors that play into that are two-way communication and understanding, and then keeping the athlete involved in the decision-making process throughout your season. We are going to focus for the next bit of time on coach self-awareness. And that involves coaching styles. And it's important to begin with, there is no best coaching style, but there is coaching styles that work best for different people. All of them are good and all of them are important to use and know, and we'll get into it a little bit more, but nobody should just be one style and nobody should try to be just one style. The important aspect of it is to understand all of them and be able to apply them in different situations when they are needed. And so, quick overview, there's dominance, influence, steadiness, and conscientious coaching. And then we're going to go into each of them here. The first dominant coaching style is high technical needs, low relationship needs. Influencing is low technical needs and high relationships. Opposite of that, steady coaching, high technical needs and high relationship needs. Conscientious, low technical needs and low relationship needs. And so all of these are looking at the technical side of it, which we can think of as those skill-based training, conditioning, technique, corrections and comments, and like the actual physical part of it. And then relationship is that emotional connection relationship with the coach. And then we're going to go into more detail on all of them, but that was an overview on how they all compare on the technical and relationship sides of it all. So the dominant style, those little monsters in the corner of all of them make me so happy. I gave them all like a little matching character. And
What's its name?
oh, a name. I feel like this is
Darren.
okay, Darren. I was gonna say Doug, so both D's, but I kind of like Darren. So this is Darren. Darren, the dominant dog. And Darren uses the dominant style, which means that he is highly directive and decisive, guides the athletes with clear, concise instruction, monitoring and correcting as the progress is made. Athletes, like when you coach with a dominant style, athletes require high technical instruction and low relationship or motivational needs. This style works well with novice athletes who lack the skills and need that direct instruction, or if they're learning a new position, changing into a new sport, are motivated and enthusiastic without that external motivation. So some examples when you would use this are when vital information needs to be given, if the setting and driving high standards is necessary, and then when the time is limited or when decisive action is needed. And so there are some athletes and teams, like we have novice teams here where this would work with. That doesn't mean you don't need to connect with them, but there are some athletes in general who we might be able to think of that are motivated on their own. They don't seem interested in that connection, and their coaching, you coach them with just that technical, like concise instruction, and it works. Another example of this might be competition warm-ups, when that information just needs to be given and you don't have time to sit and be gentle about it and be motivating and give it nicely with the whole enthusiastic approach behind it, you need them to make that correction and make it quick. So, that is Darren, the dominant style coach. And what'd you say?
It has some,
With an I?
yes,
So this is influencing style, and this is
Indy.
Indy, the influencing style coach. And I'm gonna call on the audience for the next one, by the way, so Maddie, be ready for the next name. But Indy delivers encouragement, brings energy, is highly interactive, and provides motivation to athletes. The athletes require low technical instruction and high relationship or motivation needs. This works well with people who are displaying correct skills and technique, but need more support and encouragement to help them feel confident about their performance. You would use this when the environment needs a burst of energy or to provide variety. If it calls for a highly motivational pep talk or speech, and when the morale is low, but skills are high. So similar to the last one, there are definitely athletes in this gym or teams in general that technique is great, skills are great. They're usually really good at performing their skills and their routines, but they have a very low morale, or the energy is always low, or maybe not always. They come in one day and they're doing really good, but they're just the energy is low. And so that is the style that you coach that day. We choose to be Indy that day. There's athletes like that too. They are great with their technique and their skills, performance and everything. But they need that confidence and they need the supporter in their corner at all times. And then at competition again, but maybe not in warm-ups, but before you go on the floor or before you go into warm-ups, or just again at a practice when maybe things are going good, but then something happens that brings the energy down and you need to be this person for your team. And so there are moments when we need to be influencing as well. Next, this is the steady style. Maddie, what should this monster's name be with an S?
Steven?
Wait, what'd you say, Riley?
Stella.
Oh, I was gonna say Stewie, but Steven,
Oh,
okay. Okay, Steven, Steven, the steady style coach, uses two-way communication, listens well, asks athletes a lot of questions, not just direct instruction, and encourages athletes to take an active role. These athletes require high technical instruction and high relationship or motivation needs. This works well with people with some level of technical skills, but also need motivational support if they have setbacks and they just need that encourager. Use this when more collaboration is needed, when there is more time and no urgency to get things done, in times of developing teamwork, one-on-one interactions, and a sense of security and acceptance is needed. I think that that we are all probably most of the time Steven, even if we try to think that we're not. Like I probably think that I mostly want to be dominant until doing this presentation and realizing it's good and okay to be all of them, and then like some self-reflecting and stuff. Most athletes in most situations would require something that's a little bit of both, like this one. Even though the other times are needed, but most of the time we are giving those technical instruction, but then also being that supporter and motivator through the other times. Most of the time at practices, we have more time to focus on both aspects of that. It's not so urgent, and we are focused on the one-on-one interactions, but also collaborating with the whole team. And then the last one is the conscientious coach. And I'm gonna call her Carla, the conscientious coach.
I was gonna say Cecily.
No, but it had to be a
Okay.
Cecily, maybe.
Cecily.
Carla creates a well-structured plan and environment, so the athlete has the tools, program, and necessary instructions to execute the drills, with a little bit of coach intervention. They require low technical instruction and low motivational needs. this works well for athletes who are both technically proficient and confident in their own abilities. It works best at the beginning of the season when you need to plan a lot, to explain detailed drills when things are going well and you need to keep things organized, or with dealing with higher experienced athletes. Maybe tumbling classes use this most here, but I don't see this one being used a ton, just because I think most of the teams or athletes that we see, even on our higher experienced teams, are either one spectrum, technical or like emotional in their needs. And so just kind of giving them a plan and letting them run with it, wouldn't work best all the time. But I could see in some situations where it is needed and used. And it's good to know that, like, for the beginning of the season as a coach, like, this style can be used to like plan and let the teams kind of have that, like, a little less instruction and motivation whenever they're kind of figuring each other out and you're figuring them out. This is a good time to use this one. So that's all the styles. But what do we do with them? Like I said before, you have to be adaptable. And in that sense of, like I have been saying, you have to know when to be each person. If your team is very low morale, very low energy, everyone's like sad that day, and you come in with a dominant style, you know that their motivational needs are high, but then you're going in with a style that doesn't give any motivational or emotional needs. And so you're just not helping that at all. So you have to adapt to the situation, even if you went in that day saying, like, we're going to be so technique focused and I'm going to be Darren today. And we're going to do that. You have to adapt to the situation. You also have to adapt to each athlete, which is harder to do, because on a team of 15, you're not going to do like 15 different coaches in one practice, and that's okay. I don't think anyone would expect anybody to be, but maybe you have one style that you're more comfortable with, so you're using that, but you can recognize that it's working for the majority, but maybe not like one person, that you need to change that up and talk to them one-on-one with a different approach, whatever one that may be, but change up your style and be adaptable based on the person as much as you can. You can implement these by asking questions and seeing what the athletes need, asking them, hey, did that work? Did my approach on this work? What can I do better for you? What do you guys need? That can also help you understand the type of coaching style that each athlete might need if you're not sure exactly where they fall. It is important as a coach too, if we're pointing out everyone else's errors, it's important to admit your own faults and then change as you do that. So if you know that that example I was using before, team was very low energy and low morale, and then you went in and you kept beating them down and practice never got better, it's okay to say, hey, I took the wrong approach today. I'm sorry, that was my fault that things didn't turn around. I'll do better next time. And then along with that, self-reflect. Go home, think about what you could have done better, and implement it next time to help you and your team, because everyone makes mistakes and nobody can be perfect all the time in the way that they coach or the athletes, the way that they perform. But as long as you're focused on doing better next time.
Is that right on you?
Yes, that's great right on me. That's fine though. Smells great. And be better next time. Yeah. Okay, so we went through coach self-awareness and athlete self-awareness was before. So now we're going to go into the two-way communication and understanding. And so here it's just, again, talking about who is in front of me. So if you coach multiple teams, and definitely we all coach multiple people, if you try to use a baseline approach style and apply it to everybody, it's probably not going to work great. And even if you try to individualize it, if it's not working, ask yourself again, who is in front of me? What do they need? Maybe think about, do I know anything about their personal life or their school day? Did I ask them when they came in? If someone's having an off day, if you just say to them, how was school today? You could probably find out a million things that they need to know. If they start with like their teenager and they start with like, oh, well, this boy, you know that their mood is so off. If they are a little kid and they got sent to the principal's office, whatever it is, but then you know, you have a little insight onto their day and their needs. And then we have to meet them where they are. So again, with that adaptability, if you think you know the person and that they would usually use the steady style, but they come in and that day they need the influencing style, maybe you need to switch up how you're treating them. So it's really important to look at the person that's in front of you, those other factors we talked about first that makes them who they are, the mental health, the stress, emotional, medical, nutrition, all of those things, and ask, how can I be better for them and how can I coach them best today? Communicate your needs as a coach and make a plan on how to achieve your goals. We all have those days where so maybe it's a day you think you're doing great at adapting to the mood and the energy of the team, but things still aren't going great and the energy is high and it's all fine, but things aren't going great. And so you sit down with the team and you say, hey, this is what I need from you. Let's collaborate on how we can make a plan to get there. That two-way communication, you can say what I need, they can give their input, you reply back, and then you work together to achieve those goals. All of this develops trust in your relationship, but having that trust is really important. A coach being there and being reliable and committed and being present and showing up for your team builds that trust, but also giving corrections and then those being worth it, and athletes seeing that what you say matters because it creates the result that they want, builds trust in that relationship. And then lastly, coach as a thinking partner, not as an expert. So we aren't necessarily experts at what we do as coaches because we're constantly learning. You probably know more than athletes do at that point. But if you go into practice like, I know more than them and I'm better than them, and so I'm the expert at this and they'll just listen to me, that's not a great approach. Some people choose it, I'm sure, but coach as a thinking partner with them. So you have your knowledge on like the sport, but so do the athletes, and they know the team and they know themselves and they know what they want in their goals. So collaborate, again, that plays in there. And think through things, work with them, not just being their like leader or above them. And then the last part of that timeline that we looked at was the athlete involvement in decision making. So this gives them a sense of autonomy, it increases motivation, improves connections and builds relationships, it gives more team bonding and culture, and ultimately affects that athlete-centered environment and builds an athlete-centered environment. And so you want athletes involved in the whole process so they can feel like what they're doing is theirs, not just up to the coach. And we're going to talk here. Oh, and I think one more slide about ways to do that. But first, athletes want fun in practices. They want to build relationships. They want to learn. They want to have positive experiences. They want to grow as a person and as an athlete. And then they want to feel success. So as a coach, we should give them time for these things. We should find out their learning style so we can help them reach those goals and help them grow. We should continuously challenge them to grow, and then we should give them the opportunity to succeed and give them our best self and our best knowledge, our best tactics so that they can succeed at competition or wherever it may be that they want to feel success. And then here's the slide. So ideas. So ways that athletes can be involved and feel like a part, like they're making choices and involved in the decision-making process. You can let them choose a practice theme every once in a while. They can decide the conditioning that they do that day or pick the reward or game that they want. And so you can tell them, hey, we're gonna do conditioning for every time I see legs apart in a back handspring, but would you rather it be burpees or lemon squeezers? Hey, if you guys hit your routine today, we get to play a game at the end. You can pick the game or you can choose to leave 5 minutes early, whatever it may be, but give them that, and then along with that, deciding what's next. So hey, we just did a full out. The things that I want to work on today are jumps and standing tumbling. What do you guys want to do next? You can provide choices like those options that I've been giving, or you can leave it up to them if it's truly one of those days that maybe anything can happen at practice and you're okay with whatever they decide. Them deciding what's next always helps, or usually helps on those bad practice days. If you're trying to hit a full out and they've done 3 and they haven't hit, and you just say, hey, like, obviously it's not happening. What do you guys want to do next to help get you there? Usually they'll pick something productive too. In my experience, I think there could be athletes or could be teams that are like, oh, we just need to go home or work on the dance. Yes. But usually whenever it's a bad day like that and they know the seriousness of it, they will choose something that is actually going to be productive. And I think we do need to trust them on those things that, like, even so, like the other day, our team was having a really bad practice and we gave them the choice if they were ready or needed to take a break. And they said they were ready at first. They came over and got set. And then someone was like, can we have a break? We need a couple more minutes. And as a coach, you're like, oh, I don't really want to let them have a break. Like, why would they choose that? Maybe they're trying to get out of it. But then it turned into like they went and sat in a circle and they all talked and it was motivating and they came back and had a better day. And so even those things that might seem like they chose the easy way out of the bad option can be helpful. Involve the team in team traditions, sayings, rituals, and then also involve them in little things that might not really matter as a team or like overall as a gym. And so they know what they want and they know what motivates them. And so we don't get judged on appearance or how they walk on the floor or those little things, what their shirt says that we're designing for Summit. So like those things that we can let our athletes be in control of, that's going to make their experience better, will motivate them a lot. It also it impacts that overall like culture of the team, but also the gym and how much people feel like they are a part of something bigger because they have a say in it and how much they like showing up and wanting to be here. So athletes' opinions and say on things is really, really important. And that is all today. So thank you. I hope you liked the monsters and it was great presenting to you all. Any questions? Maddie, are you there?
I'm here. I have no questions.
Okay. Any input or anything you've experienced that you want to share?
Yeah, I think I agree with everything you said and the focus of the presentation. I know for us this season, we've really tried to be more athlete-centered and give the athletes a voice, especially when you are having a rough practice or someone is struggling or they get emotional. Like a lot of times the first reaction is to be frustrated with them or to yell at them, tell them to pull it together, like whatever it might be. But I know multiple times this season we've been like, wait a second, take a breather, step aside, talk to one of your coaches so we can understand why you're feeling that way, validate your feelings, but also then explain the situation maybe from our point of view or from someone else on the team's point of view, and then try and resolve the issue so then they go back onto the mat feeling a little better or calmer with a little bit more understanding than just frustration and negative attitude. So I think that has been really helpful this season. And then I also think in terms of giving choice in what they're doing is important, and there's ways to like be strategic about it. And so you had mentioned things like, oh, you don't want them to choose something that's pointless or not productive, but in the example about like conditioning, do you want to do this or that, you can be strategic as a coach. So like both options are things that are going to make them tired, or if you're looking for leg exercises, like give them 2 leg exercises as their conditioning choices, but they just appreciate being able to choose one. Or like what section do you want to work on this or this? Being strategic about that so they're not choosing something that you don't really need to work on. And so I think it's important to be athlete centered. That's not to say that you as a coach don't still get a voice or that practices can't still be productive.
Thank you. That was great. Riley, anything from you?
I do like kind of giving them a choice, like, of this or that sometimes, cause I feel like, yeah, like they just like feel like they have a voice and they can decide things without, maybe sometimes you're like manipulating it a little bit to where it's like something productive, but, like giving them the opportunity, like, no, I won't do this.
Great. Okay, well, that's all, folks. I appreciate your input and I appreciate you attending, and I will see you soon.
Sounds good.
Bye. Thanks, Coach Avery.
Bye, you're welcome.
Bye.
Bye, Riley.
Bye,
Thank you, Maddie. Let me
Maddie.
this, and for all